Hello to everyone joining us live at the time this interview is streaming and to everyone who is rewatching this afterwards. Thank you. My name is Andrea Thompson. I am the founder and director of the Film Girl Film Festival. And thank you to everyone for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Glad to be here.
Excellent. And I am going to make a note to everyone watching. This will go slower because one of our filmmakers, Nalan, who we are very pleased to welcome, she has a translator. So every few minutes we are going to slow down so we can translate. So Pinar, do you need to make a note of that?
Okay. Nalan, işte az önce konuştuklarımızı konuşuyoruz aslında. Her bir iki cümleden sonra ben sana çeviriyor olacağım bunları.
Tabii. Thank you.
You're welcome. So yes, I wanted to make a note of that so everyone knows. Just enjoy the slower pace, and here we go then. First off, could you all introduce yourselves and the name of your film? Can we start with Nalan and Pinar?
Nalan, filmin adı, kendi adın tanıtırsan.
I am Nalan Abbasoğlu. My film is Kora, short film.
Thank you. And Pinar, could you introduce yourself?
Hello everyone. I am part of Kora. I was an actress in the film, and today I'm going to be helping Nalan to express herself. I'm going to be translating her.
Thank you. And Marissa?
Hi, I'm Marissa Martin. I'm the co-director with Meg of The Sacred.
And Meg?
I'm Meg Donnelly, and I'm co-director of The Sacred with Marissa.
And last but by no means least, Diane?
Hi, I'm Diane Kaufman, and I'm the author of and director of the animated Three Objects Spoke to Me.
Thank you. And one last thing about the translation, Pinar, please feel free to jump in and say slow down or stop so I can translate if you have any needs, Pinar and Nalan. And do you need me to pause for translation for that?
Okay, thank you, Andrea.
You're welcome. All right, so I want to point out a commonality of your films, and completely unintended by me, is that many of our films grapple with or discuss the feminine, but pretty much all of your films are kind of grappling with the essence of femininity. So, Pinar, could you?
Yeah. Andrea diyor ki bütün filmlerde ortak bir nokta keşfetmiş aslında. Bu da filmlerin feminen yapısı ya da işte nasıl diyebiliriz, kadınsı dokusu.
And so I want to ask each of you exactly like what gave you the impetus for the kind of femininity you display in your films, because they are all quite different. And I want to start with Nalan and Pinar. What inspired you to create this film?
Nalan, seni bu filmi yapmaya iten ya da bu filmi yapmaya motive eden, bu filmi yapmaya seni nasıl diyeyim, inspire eden aslında, ilham aldığın nedir?
Bu aslında sevme problemi beni bu rahatsızlık duyduğum bir duyguydu ve tamamen sembolik olarak hayal ettim ben bunu en başından beri. Bu çünkü anne baba, sevgili, arkadaş, partner, her tür ilişkinin en temelinde yer alan bir problem. Çok evrensel bir şey olduğu için sembolik olarak sembolik olarak aklıma geldi ve bu aslında temel taşı beni rahatsız eden bir duyguydu bu. Yani bir rahatsızlıktan yola çıktım.
Nalan says that it is actually a problem of loving each other. So she says that it was an emotion that was disturbing me quite a lot. That is why she says it's not only about a partnership, but it's about the love between the mother and the mother and the child, the child and the father, partnership, friendship. She says in every relationship, this is one of the basic problems. To love each other. So she was saying that this was a quite universal issue. That's why she wanted to depict it in a symbolic way.
Very interesting because femininity always seems to be closely tied or allied to love.
Çok enteresan diyor Andrea çünkü sevgi her zaman feminenlikle zaten bağdaştırılan bir duygudur, durumdur ya da duygular feminenlikle bağdaştırılır zaten.
Evet.
Yes.
Evet. Burada ben zaten bir erkek kadın olarak bunu indirgemek istemedim. Yani o zaman sadece bir erkek kadın ilişkisi olacaktı. Halbuki sevgi daha evrensel, bütüncül bir şey. O yüzden bu kadar sembolik. Hatta iki kadın, bir oyuncak ve bir küçük kız sembolünde yer aldı.
Nalan says that I didn't want to reduce the meaning of loving. It's not about loving. It's not about the love relationship between a man and a woman, because loving is an issue that is universal. That's why I used two female figures in my film. One is a small child, and the other one is a doll, but they are both girls. Yeah, that's why she created this symbolic world.
Thank you. And Marissa and Meg, I want to go to you two because your film is kind of about reclaiming love and femininity in your film, The Sacred, reclaiming like this very feminine view of a sacred view on things, which includes also sex, which has not generally been forbidden when we talk about women and the sacred. That is something that is supposed to be not an option. So I want to ask what inspired you to create this very feminine world.
Yeah, sure. I'm the writer of The Sacred as well, and so in writing it, I guess I wasn't consciously trying to write something about the feminine. It was really just trying to write something out of my own, experience and people I know, as a woman. And it just kind of, so that's sort of how that came about. But yeah, and it was about my own, I had been brought up very religious, and my own experience of spirituality was very connected with my sexuality. And so that was sort of something that worried me, But I think what I wanted to express then is something that you don't see often. When then we sort of turned to making the film and talking about it, with Marissa and the team, there was a lot of sort of goddess imagery in there, and we did find, I did sort of find examples, throughout sort of mythology and stories where this is quite a normal thing, and in literature and art, and so really just tried to sort of draw on those and make it about the sort of empowerment, the inner empowerment of a young woman and how coming of age. So, add anything, Marissa?
No, I think that's, well, I mean, you wrote the project, so I came on at a later stage. But yeah, we looked at a lot of art and a lot of, classical paintings and things as our reference point for the visuals. And that was one of our, a bit of our process was, figuring out how we were going to express it visually, turning it from the script into the film. So yes, Meg did a lot of research. on that idea of how that should look.
Thank you. And Diane, your film is also about a very feminine view of the world. So can you tell us a little bit how this poem came about? Like,
Yeah, well, I was volunteering at Good Samaritan Hospital in Portland, Oregon, in their arts program for people who have cancer, majority of whom in this program were women. And there was a workshop with an art therapist, Margaret Hartsock, and myself. And Margaret had put out baskets filled with different objects. And I happened to choose 3 objects. But as I'm listening to all of us speak, the title is 3 Objects Spoke to Me. But in a way, my choosing the objects, also I was speaking to them. So the objects that I chose were a red rose bloom, a pin that was an angel with wings, and across her sash was a heart, a crescent moon, and a star. And then there was a coin shape, and on the back of the coin was a bird, and on the other side of the coin was the word silence. And out of those 3 objects, I created the story, or the story created itself. And then it just seemed so beautiful that I wanted to see it in visual form, and collaborated with Lucia, a very talented animation artist.
thank you very much. And to Nalan and Pinar, much of your short is also about isolation. And I'm guessing that the idea for this had been in the works far before COVID, but I was wondering if COVID ended up affected the making and kind of the overall messaging of the film.
Nalan Andrea diyor ki filmin ana temalarından bir tanesi bana izolasyon gibi geldi. Yani yalıtılmışlık. Acaba diyor burada bu fikirde ya da mesajın verilmesinde ya da bu süreçte, filmin yapılma sürecinde COVID etkili oldu mu senin düşüncende?
Aslında değil. Yani evet, bir yalıtılmışlık var. Çünkü bu tür yani psikolojik problematiklerde insan kendi kendini hapseder ya zaten. Kendi kendimize yarattığımız bir yalıtılmışlık bu. Aslında COVID etkili oldu diyemem. Bu daha geniş, daha bir duygu. Yani daha evrensel bir duygu aslında. COVID açıkçası bu filmde beni etkilemedi.
Nalan says that, to be honest, COVID was not effective in this film at all, in its message or during the making of it. She says, yes, the theme is isolation, you're right, because it's about, as she said, it's about this universal issue. So it's more about how the person isolates herself and about how our psychology, the problematics of our psychology isolates ourselves from the rest of the society. So it's more of a universal issue than being related to COVID, she says.
Yeah, we can all relate to that isolation far more now. Thank you. And Marissa, Meg, your film also touches upon themes of isolation, although your main character goes through this with kind of her, on this journey with her partner. She's also very much has to come to the end of her journey herself. So I'm curious, obviously your film was obviously germinating before COVID, but did COVID end up playing a role in your film?
We were lucky to have filmed it before COVID. So we filmed it in October 2019.
Oof, just in time.
Yeah. And we just had sort of bushfires as well, sort of, starting a month later, not where we were filming, but near enough that there was lots of smoke in December of that year, January, and then COVID. So, and we sort of didn't really start post-production until sort of in 2020. So yeah, it did affect us in post-production in that we were meeting together, with the different sort of creatives. There was a lot of just electronic sort of back and forth, and that probably did slow things down a bit. Yeah. But thankfully, the filming was already done. So
Yes, timing was pretty good on that, it seems. Oh, Marissa, before I moved on, anything to add?
Just that, yeah, we were lucky we shot already, so we had no issues with the shooting. But yeah, post-production was very much slowed down by being unable to meet. Yeah.
And Diane, this film, obviously, came to be like the event that happened came a couple of years before COVID, I believe. So I was wondering how did it end up playing a role like once the film was made and created?
Absolutely no role.
Oh, lucky then. One of the few films in the past.
Yes. Maybe COVID has touched so many lives in so many places in so many ways. But I have to say that Three Objects Spoke to Me was isolated from the damage of COVID.
Definitely, because we can all, like I said, we can all relate to the feelings of isolation that you discuss far more in your film.
Yes, and the film, I could see it speaking to people during the worst of COVID, in the sense that it talks about being lost on life's journey and going into a process of inner reflection.
Definitely. And on that note, another unintentional commonality all your films have is that they all touch on how your shorts either feature a young girl who appears and plays a role in your film, or they're about young girls and how views of women change as the young girl comes to adulthood. So Nalan and Pinar, this question is for you. Why did you decide to make children play such a role in your film, and does that speak to how women are viewed as opposed to young girls, and especially how much freedom they have or don't have once they mature? Let me know if I need to reword that for translation purposes. I like asking weird or complicated questions.
Yeah, that's okay, I think. Andrea dedi ki bu 3 filmde de aslında yine garip bir ortak nokta var. O da genç kızların olgunlaşması, değişmesi ya da ortaya çıkışları. Sen bu filmi yaparken bir çocuk oyuncuyla bir çocuk oyuncu oynatmaya nasıl karar verdin? Ya da işte bir özgürlük arayışıyla ilgili, bu kız çocuğunun özgürlük arayışıyla ilgili neler söyleyebilirsin filmde?
Aslında burada iki karakter var. Bir tanesi çocuk, çünkü aslında bu bir büyük insanın sembolik hali. Ruhu çocuk çünkü, yani olgunlaşmamış bir kişiyi temsil ediyor. Bir de bebek, o da eli kolu hareket edemeyen, edilgen bir kişiyi temsil ediyor. O yüzden bir çocuk ve bebek. Bunların dönüşümü söz konusu. İkisinin de dönüşümü. Zaten filmin sonunda ikisini de görüyoruz. Bu bir nevi evet ölüp yeniden dirilmek gibi. Bu bir evet değişim hikayesi. özgürleşme, tamamen özgürleşme diyebiliriz, doğru. İki kişi içinde. Hani bir kırılma noktası ve yeniden doğuş. Filmin çıkış noktasında aslında Sartre'ın cehennem başkalarıdır sözü var. Bu böyle bir ilişki. Yani çocuk olmasının sebebi ruhen çocuk olduğu için böyle sembolize ettim. Bebek olması da bir bebek kadar hareket kabiliyetinden yoksun bir kişi bu çünkü. Ve sonunda da oradan çıkıyor. Biraz zor oldu ama.
Yok, not aldım ana hatlarını. Nalan says that there are two characters in this film. One is a child because it's a symbolic usage. She symbolizes, actually she's a grown-up, but her soul is childish. Her soul is not mature. That's why I casted a young girl, small child, let's say. And the other one is a doll, because it symbolizes it represents the inability to move. It represents like the passivity. So it says at the end of the film, both of them changes into something new, something else. She says that it's about dying and being born again. It's about transformation. For both of the person, it's about reaching the freedom. So it's reborning again. And she says that when I first started the film, I had this sentence from Sartre in my mind. Hell is the others. I don't know if I'm translating it in a nice way.
Hell is other people.
Yeah, hell is other people. Perfect. Thank you, Andrea. So she says that this was my starting point to this project.
And I will say, both your characters, they rock the outfit in the film. They rock that outfit.
Her iki şeyde de kıyafetlerinin çok güzel olduğunu söylüyor.
Ay, çok teşekkür ederim. Thank you.
Thank you. And Marissa and Meg, obviously how women are seen and how women see this sacred force that permeates your film also plays a large role, but there is also an important appearance by a young girl, which is also very symbolic. So could you comment on why you made that decision?
That was in the final rewrite of the script. We really were looking for ways to try and boost, I guess, the female empowerment aspects of the film, of the script, just to give it the right balance. And also in that scene, the main character, the girl played by Emma Horn, is she's very passive. She's in a very passive state because of the situation she's in, and so it's very hard to write, an empowerment when someone's in the character is in a situation where they're very, very passive and there's not, they're not empowered, and so that's where you kind of try and bring in external aspects to kind of. In a symbolic way, as well as in a way that adds to the story.
I thought of her more as unsure, to be honest, in the way most women. I thought of her more as unsure, to be honest, as most women in their early 20s are as they're finding their way.
Yeah, definitely. And that's why it's a really delicate balance in trying to. In trying to sort of express female power when you're really not in a very powerful position in life, as well as in the sort of, the situation of the story. And that was what, the script editor that we had for that final draft was really trying to, challenge us to do. And so you really have to try and find whatever ways you can. And we wanted her to find something for herself by the end of the story, and it was to do with children and teaching, and so that was sort of another reason to bring in a young girl that she had that had a connection with her, and to just also just in terms of like movement and action in a script and a film, when things are passive, that's a really good device to bring in to sort of move the story forward and keep the audience's attention.
And Marissa, anything to add before?
Just that our little actress Audrey is just a delight, little gorgeous girl. I mean, working with children is never easy because they get tired, of course, and the days are long. And but she just pulled it out. She was so her eyes, everything comes through her eyes. She just has this deep soul that you can just see. And her and Emma, really hit it off, and that really helps say those things in a look, which was really, it's a really beautiful moment.
Yeah, she really lifted that. Both of them did, but Audrey was just amazing. Just for that few half a minute that she's there, or even less, it's just just shines. Yeah.
Definitely. And Diane, I'm curious as to why you decided to make a young girl the one who goes on this journey to kind of express the vision, this beautiful vision she sees.
I think the immediate reason for that was, as I mentioned, it was in a writing workshop or a writing and healing workshop. And of the three objects I chose, one was a pin of an angel. And I was thinking of this, that you don't really see images of old angels, right? They seem to be young girl angels. So she was the immediate impetus for creating the story. And I think it's also that the idea of youth or innocence and being able to trust one's own vision. In the story, she looks up, and instead of seeing the moon, she sees a red rose blooming in the sky. And she's intrigued by that and doesn't know if it's real or it's not real, or is somebody going to steal it from her. And so,
or even if she even deserves it.
Or yes, does she deserve to have that? And is there meaning? And if there is meaning, what is the meaning? And she's grappling with that, grappling with her own, not quite sure what it is, her own spirit, her own envisioning, her own creativity, her own self. She's trying to understand that. And in the story, she ends up falling asleep. And the text says that she has the dream. It's like she was awake inside of herself through the dream, right? And the dream that comes to her has to do with love.
Very much so. Very much so. And,
Can I just?
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I wonder whether, listening to everybody speak, whether it's almost a screen trope in a way that younger people are allowed to go on journeys, and older women are not. They have a place and they've got to do their duty, and whereas younger people, but women as well, younger girls are allowed to have journeys. Maybe that's a thing. I don't know.
And then you're just supposed to disappear. Even younger girls think your life kind of stops when you hit 30 or something. So.
Oh my goodness! I'm multitudes of 30, and your life can just begin every single day in a new way.
Oh yes, definitely. Oh my goodness.
Can I translate this, please?
Oh yes, go ahead.
Perfect, thank you, Andrea. Şöyle bir konuşma geçti en son. Genç kızların yolculuğa çıkmasına izin var ve insan yaş aldıkça olduğu yerde çakılı mı kalıyor acaba? Yani kadınların bu yolculuğa çıkması, dönüşümleri acaba sadece gençlik yıllarında mı gibi bir yorumlar oldu aslında.
Anladım. Değil tabii ki. Neden biz böyle sembolize ettik bilmiyorum.
Hı.
Her an değişiyor halbuki insan. Yani evet.
Nalan says that it's interesting point, and she was like asking herself why did she symbolize it that journey in a with a small girl, and she says that it's every time a woman can change, like at any age of her life, she can have a journey indeed.
Mhm. Thank you. And one thing, Diane, we are going to lose Diane. She has to go early. So before you go, Diane, can you shout out your next projects that you're working on?
Yes, I can. It's called Marble Me Free, and it's based on a poem by S. Swan, who had attended one of my Arts and Healing Resiliency Center events. And the poem is so powerful about, in the metaphor of living your life and coming across a marble block that stops your way. And we're in the animation process, and very excited about it. Lucia is also animating it, and Starlet is the poet. And I think it's on the theme of emotional pain and physical pain can be devastating. And this poem story is a journey through that.
All right. Thank you very much for sharing, and crossing my fingers for you.
Yeah, thank you. Nice meeting everyone, and thank you so much for Film Girl. Okay,
Thanks.
bye.
Bye.
Diane.
Whoops. Oh, there we go. All right. And before we move on, Nalan, did you have anything else you wanted to add? Because kind of had to abruptly cut off there.
Nalan, eklemek istediğin başka bir şey var mı? Çünkü birazcık kesintiye uğradı az önceki lafın.
Yok ama benim sormak istediğim bir şey var aslında. Hani en başta kadın bir feminen bir dilden bahsetti ortak olarak. Ben de hani bütün bunları bir erkeğin yapacağını hiç hayal edemiyorum. Yani gerçekten hepimiz çok farklı şeyler yapmışız. Ama hani feminen dil olarak neyi algıladığını merak ettim ben gene de. Bir de ona sormak istiyorum yani. Ben de öyle düşünüyorum ama.
Andrea'ya mı soruyorsun?
Ters oldu ama.
Nalan says that she has a question to you, Andrea, regarding the first question that you asked. She says that, yes, it's interesting that all of us use the feminine language without knowing each other's projects, and it's a quite nice coincidence. And she says that, of course, I wasn't expecting a male director to use such a language or to create such a project. And she says that, how do you define this feminine language? How do you define it?
Well, to use an old phrase, or to paraphrase an older phrase, femininity is like porn. You can't define it, but you know it when you see it.
Andrea diyor ki feminenliği aslında çok da tarif edemezsin, porno gibidir. İzlediğinde anlarsın ama çok da açıklayamazsın ne olduğunu.
Evet, doğru. Ben de yani tabii ki çok fazla hissediyorum ama bir yandan düşünüyorum neden evet ben de tanımlayamıyorum tam.
Nalan says this, yes, I agree with this saying. She says that I am also thinking a lot. I have a feeling, but I am unable to define it either.
Especially with how it's being redefined and including more people who are excluded from femininity.
Özellikle yeniden tarif edildiğinde ya da yeniden anlamlandırıldığında dışarıda bıraktıkları, içeriye aldıkları tarifin değişiyor her daim aslında.
Evet.
Yes. Thank you. And Another thing your films all have in common is how much environment plays a role in your story and how it's told. So Marissa and Meg, how did you choose this beautiful naturalistic environment? And I know this must mean a lot to you because Australia's the natural environment is taking a beating lately, but Australia is especially suffering through the effects of climate change. So how did you choose that environment, and how did that affect the entirety of the film you made?
Yeah, well, I mean, our film is set around, you know,
Mhm.
a tree, very special tree, and so that was in the script, and that was a really important part of the script, that the young couple would sort of, you know, go into this other world, and that as part of the theme of exploring what is the sacred, you know, that, you know, nature was, you know, incredibly important part of that. So yeah, so we had to find a very special tree. So that took that was a bit dramatic because we had a tree in mind. And then I think like 10 days before we were going to start filming, we were told that it wasn't going to be safe enough to film there, and there were other problems with it as well. So I kind of spent the next, I was meant to sort of be refining my shot list in that sort of period. I'd sort of taken off from my other job, and instead I was tramping around Canberra looking for this, you know, special tree that was going to fit this 5 criteria I had. And so and you know and had to have a backup tree as well, I realized. So I knew it was there, but it just took me quite a number of days to find it. And when I did, I just you know, it just seemed to be there, standing there going, film me, you know, and it was just perfect. It was like, and it was does that answer the question? Was there anything more you wanted to add on that,
I think
Marissa?
so.
Just that, yeah, the nature plays obviously an important part in the script, but it also plays a very important part in just Australian culture and art. And another of the visual references were those Heidelberg School paintings, Frederick McCubbin and Arthur Streeton, and those were very much visual references that we were looking at for the Australian landscape, because it means a lot to Australians. We spend a lot of time outdoors, and yeah, just after that, the sky turned red, and we spent a month where you couldn't see more than a foot in front of you because of the smoke. So we were lucky that we shot before we couldn't have shot during it. So yeah, the landscape is obviously extremely important just to Australians, but also to this girl who is struggling with that religiosity and her feeling of nature and what that means to her. Sorry, the cat is crying. Shush.
No, it's perfect for a women in film discussion to have to feature an unruly cat.
Yes.
Like I see her in the middle of something, give me attention. And Nalan, environment, it plays a huge role in sorry, I hear the cat growling. Sorry. Nalan, environment plays a very big role in your film too. So I'm curious as to where is this space that you filmed in, and what kind of like changes did you make to evoke the feeling that your film evokes very well. And that's a very pretty cat.
Soru aslında sordukları soru çevrenin filmdeki etkisi. Yani çevre derken mekanın etkisi aslında. Filmde senin filminde mekanın etkisi nedir ve bu yaratmak istediğin duyguların yaratımında mekan nasıl bir rol oynadı? Mekanı nasıl kendine göre dönüştürdün? Bunu soruyor.
Mekan benim için çok önemliydi. Çünkü o oda aslında sembolik olarak yaşamın bir parçası ve Cora zaten ismi de bunu sembolize ediyor. Varoluş sıkıntılarının yaşandığı bir süreç o. Yani o mekan, hani o sembolik dünyanın anlatımında çok temel bir unsurdu. Ve bu anlamda istediğimi yapabildim aslında. Yani biz tabii ki mekanı boyadık, renkleri seçtik, hani eşyaları ona göre dizayn ettik. Şöyle bir şeydi, aslında hayal ettiğim bu filmi yazarken en başından beri sahne hayal ettim her zaman. Yani görsel olarak hayal ettim ve mekanda bunu gerçekleştirebildim. Bu film için çok önemli bir unsurdu. Sembolik dünya olduğu için.
She says that the space is really important in her film, like the room that the girl spends time with the doll. It's actually symbolically a part of the life. And Cora, the name of the film, also symbolizes this. She says that the environment, the space that is the room, basically, is a process that both characters experiences the existential problems. So she says that it was the most fundamental part of my narrative. And she says that we designed the environment according to my needs. Painted the walls, and we changed the settings of the things inside the room. And she says that when I was writing the script, I was imagining the things visually, like I was seeing the scenes in my head. That's why I had a clear vision of how the space will look like in the film.
Thank you very much. And yes, definitely. And to going back to Marissa and Meg, you also, in terms of space, you could have really left this film as kind of like just gazing in awe at the beauty of nature and seeing it as sacred. But you incorporate feminine sexuality and desire very well into this kind of emotional space that has traditionally been very patriarchal and very coming down harshly against female desire. Why did you decide to take that route?
Because I guess I think that sort of patriarchal view is wrong, you know. So I just think it just felt like the right thing. It just was how the story emerged, and they were the sort of themes I wanted to explore. It just sort of made sense, really. And, you know, it does sort of go back to the sort of early goddess sort of archetypes. Even despite patriarchy, you know, those themes of nature and female sexuality have been there, have always been there and are there and are very deep. And so it's sort of kind of about reclaiming that, really, and sort of countering the sort of narratives, the dominant narratives in that respect, yeah.
And Marissa, anything?
Oh, I think she's covered it there.
Alrighty. And Nalan, your film is also about reclaiming femininity as kind of a more complex force, because your wordless film delves into quite a few things. So well, I guess my question is, I don't often see femininity reflected as kind of this darker force. So why did you decide to go darker and intertwine femininity with the other major theme of isolation?
Andrea, when you say darker force, what do you mean by that?
Well, I guess I observed like there's a great deal of beauty, but there's also a great deal of darker imagery, such as the hanging doll and the girl, basically themes of self-harm. She is smearing lipstick all over her arm, which is also a form of kind of playing it, a very feminine form of self-destruction.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's a good question. Thank you.
Thank you.
Nalan, Andrea diyor ki senin filminde de feminenliği bir sahiplenme, kadın oluşu bir sahiplenme var ama dünyanda feminenliği yaratırken aynı zamanda bunu karanlık bir tablo da çizmişsin. Karanlık bir tabloya da vermişsin. Ben bu karanlık tabloyu sordum ne demek istediğine dair burada. O da dedi ki güzellik olduğu kadar filmde güzel, yani estetik anlamda güzel olduğu kadar karanlık imgeler de var. Mesela kolundan asması, kendine zarar vermesi, bu da çok aslında feminen bir şekilde yapıyor rujla. Yani anlamış. Bu konuda ne söylemek istersin?
Yani bu özgürleşene kadar bir insanın iç dünyası olduğu için karanlık. Çünkü aslında kendi kendimizi izole ederiz ve kendi kendimizi hapsederiz ya. Yani işte cehennemin olduğu yer olduğu için karanlık. Ama film zaten onların kırılma noktasında bitiyor. Yani sonrasını çekersem aydınlık olacak. Ama burası zaten o özgürleşene kadar olan kısım, evet, karanlık. Mesela dışarıda olan izolasyon değil de işte burada kendi kendimize yaptığımız şeydir ya asıl cehennemimiz. O yüzden film, evet, karanlık.
Nalan says that the person, until she gets the freedom, until she transforms herself and she actualizes herself, she says that until that point, her interior life, her inside is quite a dark place. So she says that it's actually we entrap ourselves. The film was the space of kind of a hell. That's why it was quite a dark space. And she says that the film ends where they break this cycle. And she says, if I make a second film, if I make a follow-up film,
yani kapıyı açtığında çıkıyorsun ya aydınlığa aslında. Orada bitiyor zaten.
She says that when in the last scene, when you open the door, there's the light outside, and there's where everything changes and they get free. And she says that if I make a follow-up film, it's going to be much more brighter in a sense, in a like emotional sense. So she says that, the hell is the space that I wanted to create, and the isolation is created by the characters themselves, not as an outer force.
Yes, quite a few films have made me reflect on part of my personal philosophy, which is that everything changes when you have a choice.
Andrea diyor ki seçeneğin olduğunda her şey değişebilir. Bunu gözlemledim diyor.
Evet.
Yeah.
And this is a question. My next question, I want to direct at all of you, but I'll start with Marissa and Meg. Is that we're at a time when how we see women and especially femininity is changing, and especially when hyperfemininity is being villainized a lot less. So I'm curious as to, has your relationship with your own femininity changed recently?
It's such an interesting question. I'm not sure, like I've got very feminist mother and kind of grandmother as well. So I think I've always had a strong sense that women can be so strong and can do certain, can really be themselves. So I don't know that my personal femininity has changed, other than as you get older, you just realize how strong you actually are.
Definitely. I guess it's changed for me more. Have grown up in a more conservative environments with strong women and who got through the early 2000s and dealt with a bit of self-hatred and getting the words to define these oppressive forces like toxic masculinity. So, and also that's, like you said, just getting older. So too. So mine has changed somewhat, even as it's remained relatively constant, and I've been a feminist for most of my life. So, Meg, what about you? Has that changed for you?
I mean, it's changed. You know, I'm just thinking, you know, motherhood sort of, I've got one child, and I remember that whole process of pregnancy and childbirth, and then looking after a baby. I mean, I found that, you know, that's obviously a feminine experience, but I found that really changed my whole view of myself in many ways. I found I had a very difficult labor, and so it was, I kind of didn't know who I was after that, you know, like I really felt quite traumatized by it. And it was for the first time, it was similar to maybe going through adolescence where your whole identity just kind of, you know, is smashed, and you sort of think, what happened, and who am I? And then you're sort of looking after this vulnerable, you know, being, you know, and you're not getting any sleep, and so that, and you know, obviously you come out the other end, and it's, you know, wonderful, but it's you know, that was probably, you know, really a big defining moment in my life, where you suddenly had to become an adult and deal with a different conception of yourself. And then and now I'm just sort of going through menopause, and so that's kind of like coming to another sort of phase. And so those kind of feminine, you know, it's not like everyone goes through those mileposts, but they do, when you go through them, they do sort of really throw things at you that, you know, is does change as you sort of go, as you go through it.
Yes, I can only imagine, really, but thank you. And Nalan, same question. In an era where we're kind of reevaluating and kind of more embracing femininity after a long period of it being more villainized, especially hyper-femininity, has your relationship with it undergone any changes?
Senin nasıl diyelim, feminen yönünle, kadınsı yönünle olan bağın ya da bu yönün, bu enerjin dönüştü mü, nasıl dönüştü? Çünkü son dönemlerde yapılan isimlendirmeler de, tanımlamalar da değişiyor. Senin dönüşümün nasıl kadın olma anlamında?
Evet. Yani sanıyorum bu anlamda herkesin bir yolculuğu var. Yani hepimiz nasibimizi almışız diyeyim. Bunu çevirmek çok zor ama. Tabii ki ben de dönüşüm geçirdim ama bunu burada hani özetlemem çok zor. Ben hani şey olarak söylersem aslında diş hekimiyim. Ama içimde işte bu benim feminen tarafım, sanat ve sinemayla olan bağım diyebilirim. Önce çok küçük yaşlarda diş hekimliği okuduktan sonra felsefe ve Latin dili edebiyatı okudum. Sinemada master programına girdim ve bu hayallerimin peşinde, yani bu feminen tarafımı bence temsil ediyor ve bunu bırakamadım. Ve Kora benim ilk kurmaca kısa filmim. Yani ve hayatımda bir denge oturtmaya çalışıyorum. Yani hani bu tarafım gelişecek ve bence işte bu denge, yani maskülen ve feminen tarafımın dengesiyle bu sanatsal tarafım ortaya çıktı diyebilirim. Bu süreç çok engebeliydi. Şimdi burada özetleyemeyeceğim kadar ama hani hayatıma yansıması bu şekilde oldu. Bunu sen zaten güzel anlatırsın.
Okay, Nalan says that I can explain this pretty well because I know we are close friends. So she says that everybody has her own journey, and we all hit the road at some point in our lives. She says, I changed a lot during my lifetime as well. She says, I was graduated from dentistry when I was pretty young, and but I always wanted to express myself through art. This was my feminine side. That's why after finishing the dentistry school, she studied philosophy, she studied Latin literature, and she also had a master's degree in cinema. So she says this part, the artistic part, is representative of my feminine part indeed. So she says that Cora is my first fiction short film. And with this film, I wanted to create a balance in my life because it's such a tough journey. Life is such a tough journey. She says, I need to have a balance between my masculine side and my feminine side. Yeah, that's what she's trying to do.
Ve şeyi de eklemek isterim, yani seninle birlikte yaptığımız 2 belgeseli de söyle istersen. Yani böyle bir başlayan serüvendi bu, yani 2 beraber üstünde çok da çalıştığımız bir alan zaten. Onu da ekle istersen. Kadın sinemacılar üstüne zaten 2 belgesel çalıştık.
Yeah, Nalan wants to mention that we collaborate, Nalan and I are collaborating in many projects together. So we worked on 2 documentaries before, and both of them were on women filmmakers and female cinema, feminist cinema, we can say. So in her artworks, she's working on this femininity and feminist language, or feminine film language, as well. So she has a background with documentary making as well.
Well, that takes care of my next question, since whenever we get to the end of the hour, I ask about upcoming projects. All right, so thank you. And Marissa and Meg, do you have any upcoming projects you would like to shout out?
I've just finished a horror film with my sister. Actually, Emma, who is in The Sacred, stars in this short film as well, and it's about female friendship and the intensity of female friendship when you're about 10, and what could happen if we took that to an insane degree, basically. You push that, how close can 2 people get kind of idea, and then a bit of body horror ensues. So it is an exploration, but it is also, I do love horror films, so that's a whole other side of me that I've been working on. And Meg, this was Meg's first film, and she did a brilliant job putting this together, and I was there really just to help Meg and be her little cheerleader. What are you going to make? Yeah, what are you going to make next, Meg?
Look, it's a bit embarrassing. I'm still just playing around with different ideas, so nothing to announce or really.
It's not embarrassing.
Talk about much. I'm very slow. This one took a long time, and so I just have a few different ideas, and I'm just trying to kind of create the space for myself at the moment, decluttering the house and just getting myself set up for like the rest of my career.
Well, rooting for you also. And Nalan, are there any projects you'd like to expand on upcoming projects you'd like to expand on before we end our discussion?
Nalan, bitirmeden önce yeni projenle ilgili bir şeyler söylemek ister misin?
Evet, yani ben kreatif tarafımın hiç durmamasını diliyorum. Bir kısa metraj ve bir uzun proje şekilleniyor şu anda. Nedense ikisi birlikte şekilleniyor. Bilmiyorum hangisi daha önce olur. Ama yani bundan sonra umuyorum ki bu hiç durmayacak.
Nalan says that I hope my creative side will never stop from now on. She says that I'm working on one short film and one feature-length film simultaneously at this moment.
Excellent. Thank you. And thank you, ladies, for being a part of the festival and for joining me. And yes, to everyone watching, these are only a few of the filmmakers and films of our 6 shorts box. So check them out. These films are amazing, and so all the others. And yeah, happy Film Girl Film Festival. Thank you for being a part of the discussion again and the fest.
Thanks so much for having us.
Çok teşekkür ediyoruz.
Thank
Her
you.
şey-
Mhm.
Thanks. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.